Hey everyone, Pool Shark here. Today I'm going to talk about something a little different. It's not going to be about something that's already released, it's about something that I want to see in the next iteration of Battlefront. I think we all understand that this iteration of Battlefront was EA's first take into it, and it just seems like it got kind of held up by what Disney wanted as opposed to what makes a fun video game. And definitely, Battlefront is a fun game. That's not what I mean at all, because I really do enjoy Battlefront. But I think the idea of a fun, balanced video game kind of goes out the window when you're trying to portray the actual Rebels versus Imperials. Because the Rebels were just outmatched in every way, so it was always more of a sneak attack type tactic, hit and go, as opposed to full on battles. I mean, just look at the type of games that are out that are shooters. You got Battlefield and Call of Duty and even Arma or Squad. Those are always force on force. There's never really type of an infiltration type thing where you're just sitting there, quick attack, and get out. So for the next game, there's quite a few things I'd like to see, but I'm going to highlight some of the main points that I just would like to see brought in to make the game more just reachable for the skilled players that have a lot of first-person shooters skills. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is class systems. I think Battlefront would do really well to add in class systems similar to how Battlefield does it. Since Battlefront and Battlefront 2 of the old days were essentially reskins of Battlefield, I think they should bring that back. It would bring with a whole nostalgia thing to it, and it will allow for each class to have their own type of thing going on. Whereas now you kind of just have one class and you just sort of cater it to how you feel like playing at the time, which is good for super casual players, but I think if you're trying to do strategy-based game modes, that doesn't really work. I think another thing that needs to come back is the weapon handling. I think it needs to be tightened up a little bit and make it a little bit harder for aiming and shooting. Where now you just kind of hold left mouse button or whatever you're playing on and you just aim in the direction and there's very little spread, very little recoil. Aiming down sight should be king. The hipfire should be just drastically, like the recoil and the spread should just be outrageous to where you wouldn't even want to do it unless you're in super close quarters. Each weapon now, they kind of have their own feel, but I think each weapon kind of feels too similar to the next one, and I think changing that would do a lot for the health of the game and the longevity for other players. Similar to gadgets, the gadgets and stuff like the proximity mines and grenades and stuff, certain type of grenades, the homing missiles, I think all those should be set to class items. That goes back to the whole class item thing. Allowing everybody just to have free reign of everything kind of removes the tactical. I don't know. In my opinion, it removes the tactical aspect of the game for attacking a objective. I think the next biggest thing is the maps and the layouts for the modes in them. I think all maps should essentially just be one on every mode. Every map, every mode. However, I think they should scale differently depending on the mode, obviously. Like, you're not going to want to play the Walker Assault size map for Blast. I don't know, that just wouldn't be fun. Doing that, I think, would also allow for a lot of the complaints that people had with content and stuff at launch. I think that would get rid of a lot of it, just because of the fact that, I don't know, at the beginning was four or so maps per game mode, which could have been good, but I mean, for a $60 game, you just kind of need more. Another huge thing, I think this is actually one of the biggest things I probably should have talked about first, but I'm not redoing this, is vehicles. Vehicles are obviously balanced towards the Imperial side in this game. The Rebels are just shafted hard. They don't get anything good. And yeah, I know in the movies, whatever, they don't have anything. But I actually did a little bit of reading. I don't know if it's even true or not, but I was looking at stuff where even the Rebels kind of had some stuff left over from the Clone Wars. They even had some tanks. I believe there were like the T-1B and T2 through 4B. Those, they're like heavier tanks. And I think that would do well to go against the kind of counter the whole ATST and the AT-AT side of things when it comes to vehicle balance. It would kind of give a push and pull on each side. I know a lot of people talk about how, we should do Clone Wars, they should do other parts, different parts of the eras of whatever. I mean, I'm completely indifferent to what era they use as long as they can figure out a balance to what vehicles and what each side gets, just so that the fact that one side's just not completely outmatching the other side. And the last thing I'll talk about is modes. I actually I don't know if a lot of people played this. But Battlefield 2142 had a game mode called Titan mode, and I think Battlefront could actually use that mode, and it would be extremely popular. Essentially, that mode, you could have even a Star Destroyer and I think it's called the MC-75 Cruiser, so a Rebel and an Imperial ship. And on the ground, you can have ground troops fighting over flag points, kind of like a conquest game mode in Battlefield. And you could have, I don't know in the lore, I didn't really look too much into this, but even a couple of ion cannons, one on each side of the base. And as you cap flag points, the timer for the ion cannon shooting towards the enemy ship would speed up. So the more points you have, the quicker you shoot at the enemy ship's shield and bring it down. And after you get the shield down, you would board the ship and take out consoles. I don't know if there, or even droids or some type of thing that would take down the inside defenses of the ship as well. And then doing that, afterwards, obviously, the ship would explode and crash into the ground, and your team would have a certain amount of time to get out of the ship and jump out. If it seems kind of vague what I'm saying, just kind of Google Battlefield 2142 Titan mode, and you'll kind of see what I'm getting at. And I think you would see that it would work really well for the Star Wars universe. And since DICE made it, I don't think there would be too much of an issue with the Star Wars team using it in a Star Wars game as opposed to Battlefield, since there's no futuristic Battlefield games out at the moment. I think some of the other game modes could stay, like Supremacy. I think Supremacy could use a little bit different balancing tactics where you have a ticket system, and the longer you hold, the further you get into the enemy territory, and the longer you hold it, the quicker the tickets drop, so that you don't just have that quick last-minute win, which I never found really fun in the game. Although the mode was fantastic, it just needs some minor tweaks. But I think as long as you have a good variety of map locations, like as of now in Battlefront, you've got the beach, you've got the desert, you've got snow, you've got Endor, you've just got all these different locations, which is great for replayability. But just being able to use those different locations, I think, would help the game out a lot. And I know Disney really likes to have a lot of control over their stuff, and that's kind of how they've been with Marvel, Star Wars, all that stuff. But if they could just kind of let go and let the game developers do their job, I think Battlefront could just excel and even become just more of a popular cult hit than even Battlefront 2 was back in the day. And yeah, I have more little nitpicky things, but it's just a lot of stuff that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. These are the biggest points that I think I wanted to hit on, and I think would do the most for the game, that would allow for just a broader audience. I think more hardcore shooter players would come in if there was better mechanics. You would have the people who enjoyed this game come back because it brings up the skill notch a little bit, but just don't go too far as to try to drive them away. With that being said, I really do enjoy Battlefront. It's a good casual shooter. It's good, just hectic fun. And I know a lot of other people liked it. It's just, it lost its player base. And I think some of the things that I said would help it out a lot. I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully there's more to come. And hopefully the devs look at this and think, hey, that's a good idea. So take it easy.